Hey, how you getting on? Today I look pretty in pink and I check out the Celestion Hempback guitar speaker. So the Hempback, I've been dying to try this for a long time now. I've had it a bit. My friends at Tube Amp Doctor sent this over for me to check out. So consider this sponsored if you want to, or not. I don't care. Anyway, Hempback, because it has a cone made of hemp instead of regular paper or fiber stuff. And it's got a large dust cap, ceramic magnet. It's only the second hemp cone speaker I've had on the channel. And yeah, as I've said, I've been very curious to check it out. And the way I'm going to check it out is the way I usually check out speakers. It's going to go in this side of my Marshall 9060 AV next to a Celestion Vintage 30 from late 2024, December 2024, which was a good vintage of Vintage 30 because that speaker has little sound pressure levels between 5 and 6 kilohertz, making it sound rather similar to those Celestion Vintage 30s from the early 2000s, the golden era speakers. I'll be playing a few riffs through the amplifiers behind me here, and I'll be miking up both speakers, both the Hempback and the Celestion Vintage 30 with a Shure SM57. The Celestion Vintage 30, which goes here in its sweet spot where the dust cap meets the cone, and the Hempback gets mic'd up in the same relative position at first, giving you a good reference tone. I'll be switching back and forth between the two microphones in editing so you can hear the differences. Now, what I usually do is, if the speaker I'm testing has a different sweet spot according to my ears, I move the microphone to that sweet spot later in the video. What's cool about the Hempback is I had a really hard time finding a sweet spot, not because it doesn't sound good, because almost every position sounds good. And I've only ever experienced that twice, once with the Lichtlam Audio LCFR 150, and I think with the Fein Crescendo. So you can mic this up dead center or further out from the center. Doesn't really matter. To my ears, they all work. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to move the mic to a different position later on in the video. I'm going to get my sweet spot finder jig and I'm going to demonstrate what setting the microphone position on the Celestion Vintage 30 does to the sound, and then in comparison what it does to the Hempback. So you can really see how big the sweet spot on the speaker is. And to help you further assess if the speaker is for you, I'm going to provide you with some free IRs to download, one for the Celestion Vintage 30 as a reference, and a couple of ones for the Hempback. I'm not really sure how many yet. You can find them in the Dropbox link in the description and the pinned comment. And if you like those IRs, you might want to consider becoming a Patreon of mine. That's where I upload full IR packs for all the speakers I demo. After the playthrough, I'm going to put both speakers in Engel 1x12 cabs and miking up the room with Sennheiser MKH 8020s, and I'll reamp a riff to one of my amps so you can get an impression of the room sound as well. I'll meet you back at the very end for some final thoughts. Yeah, and that's it. I need to put the Hempback in the cab and get going. All right, I've dropped the pink. I'm not sure if you're ready for that yet. Truth is, it's several days later and it's too hot for a jumper. Anyway, I ended up coincidentally with a completely German amp lineup for this video. I'll be using the old Powerball 1V1, in fact, really old amp. Sounds great though. The Hughes & Kettner Triumph Mark III, my Tube Workshop Blueless, and the Diesel VH4. So das Metal, das Allzweckwerkzeug, das More Marshall, das Legende, die Legende. Anyway, yeah. What is there to say? I'm just going to get going. Haven't really been able to play guitar since the last speaker video, so prepare for some extra suck. Now here's the point where this speaker video is a little different. Usually I go through different mic positions if the speaker I'm testing has different sweet spots, as I elaborated on the intro. However, with the Hempback, I couldn't really decide. And that's where this thing comes in. This contraption here is my homemade ghetto dynamount, also known as the Sweet Spot Finder 5000. I've kind of mounted some, how do you call them, camera quick release plates with some adapters for mic stands on this camera slider here. And there's a board in here where I've marked different positions. That's what I use to make my IRs. And also to find the sweet spots, because I make the IR packs for the speakers before I actually demo the speakers, and I compare the IRs I made of the speaker to my favorite vintage 30 IR, to determine what the sweet spot is. And as I said, for the Hempback, I had great trouble because, yeah, they all sounded very usable. So at this stage, I want to demonstrate to you how different the SM57 sounds on different positions of the Vintage 30, and then do the same for the Hempback to really show you that the differences between those positions aren't as drastic as they are on the Vintage 30. At least I think they are, unless I screwed up my IR making process. Either way, yeah, either I'm going to make a fool of myself or not, or show you something interesting. I don't know, I'm talking too much. Anyway, I've got the mic position on the reference position as I use on the videos. That is position 3 of my IRs, and the V30 sounds like this. Fairly balanced. Position 4 would be here. That's also quite popular. It's a matter of taste. But if I move it to position 1, which is dead center, this should kind of be abrasive. Of course, I can't monitor it here because I'm hearing in the room. I'll just have to trust my process. This is in between, position 2. And if I move it back to my reference position, it should sound more pleasant to you guys. Now, let's move this to the Hempback, which should be... I'm going to have to cut this out. So this is the reference position as you heard it in the video. And the sweet spot for most speakers I'm doing is slightly further outside, position 4, which is here. And if I did my job correctly, that should have sounded slightly less high-endy, but not as much as you'd expect. If I go right into the center of the Hempback, as you remember on the Vintage 30, that was quite bright. And if my pre-analysis was correct, that should sound a little brighter, but not as aggressively shifted as it did for the V30. Now if we move into the position in between, the shifts shouldn't be as dramatic as they are for the V30. I'm going to go back to the V30 starting in the center. So yeah, I hope that came across. What am I trying to say? Yeah, the shift, the high-end roll-off isn't as dramatic on the Hempback as it is on the Vintage 30. And I think I'm going to give you guys 3 or 4 Hempback IRs to play around with. And if you like those, check out the IR pack I made. So, final conclusions. What do I think of the Hempback? I'm pretty impressed with it. I like it quite a lot. As you could see in the graphs there, the Hempback was pretty pulled back after 4K. There's a big dip at around 5K, but it pops up at 6K again, giving it some bite. I think it's quite useful. As I said 1,000 times, I had trouble finding, really agreeing with myself on what is the sweet spot of the speaker. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. And if you like that, again, consider becoming a Patreon or, yeah, getting the IR pack there. If you want to support me, there's affiliate links down below. My recommendation is buy used if you can, but if you can't, avoid buying new. It really helps if you use my affiliate links. Thanks for supporting me. I hope this video was entertaining, useful for you guys. I really need to get to bed. I'm out of practice making videos. Don't know what to say. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.